Hi, my name is Jens, and this is my new Releasefly Connector system. This is in fact just a very small hook holder that you put on the modified fly. This enables you to use much smaller hooks, and this gives you a dramatically improved penetration and a much higher landing rate, and at the same time you will be doing less damage to the fish. During cast and retrieve or intake, the hook will be semi-fixed in the small Releasefly connector, so it's perfectly exposed all the time. But in the same second you get a bite and you will get a risk of a leverage on the small hook. It breaks out of the Releasefly connector, so there's no risk of overstressing the hooks because it's 100% leverage free. In this short film I just demonstrate the system for coastal flies, for sea trout and for pike, but the system is universal. It will be working exactly the same way no matter if you fish for salmon or muskie or bass or tarpon or any other saltwater species. Let me show you how it works. As you can see here, it's also possible to use single hooks on the Releasefly connector. What you do is that you bite the two upper branches off and you have a single hook. So this is a dramatically improvement in a catch and release context for the fish. You cannot just use a normal single because the cross section of a normal single will not fit into the connector. So you need to have a treble where you cut off two of the branches in order to make the single hook fit correctly into the holder. But this does not matter for the hooking ability or for the fish. It's just something that you modify. Very easy to do. With this setup, the hook wound would be approximately 600% smaller than with the original single. Here you see how perfectly exposed the small treble is in the Releasefly connector, and it's important to mount it so one branch is pointing down and two up, because this gives a higher probability that it will only hook on one branch, and that gives a higher landing rate because it gives a better penetration and a deeper hook grip. Let me show you what you need to modify your coastal fly, like this shrimp imitation, and to fish it with the Releasefly connector. Of course you need the Releasefly connectors itself. You need a plier like this one to modify the single hook fly, to bite off the wire. And you need the end of the plier in order to bend it in the right angle so the connector and hook will sit perfectly exposed. You need Loctite in order to glue the release connector to the wire. You need, of course, your tippet material. I normally use fluorocarbon in 0.25 to 27. And you need a owner ST36 BCX size 14. And this Releasefly connector for the coastal flies are made to fit exactly this hook, so these will work very good together. But let me show you how easy it is to modify the hook, mount the Releasefly connector and fish with it. First you bite off the wire with a plier, and you bite it off approximately 4 millimeters from where the tying material stops, like here. That's it. Then you take the plier like this, and you bend it so it gets a 90-degree angle to the fly approximately. So now it looks like this. And then you're going to mount the release connector on this small piece of wire here. Let me show you how. If we take a closer look at the Releasefly connector, as you can see here, there's a small hole in the end, and this hole is made exactly to fit the shape of the wire of the hooks. As you can see, it's rectangular, the hole, and this is because the wire on the fly is flat. Most flies is flat with rounded edges, and this hole here will fit most flies from size 8 to size 4, depending on exactly how thick the wire are, but most flies this one will fit. So now I'll show you how the release connector shall turn on the fly. One side of the connector is flat. This is the one. This is going to turn backwards. As you can see, it's lying exactly the right way here. So now you take the fibers away from the under part of the fly. You dab a piece of super glue on the edge of the modified wire, and then you simply take the Releasefly connector and push the hole down over the wire and push it completely in. Let it dry for like 5 or 10 seconds, and then you're ready to mount the hook and fish. So now we're ready to put the glue on the wire. Just a single drop is more than enough. Then you take the connector, put it into the hole and squeeze it in. And now it sits perfectly in the connector. A good tip is that before you put the glue on, you have a firm grip of the fly, so it's easy to have the power to push the connector in one movement, because then you don't need to fumble too much around with the glue and everything. Then it's a very short, simple operation. Also, it's very good to make sure that you have turned the connector right, so it's lying on the ground, just to pick it up so it turns right, and then put it on. Now we are ready to mount the hook. As you can see here, the Release connector is shaped like a small claw when seen from behind, and it's also from behind that you're going to push in the hook, so it's going to sit the right way.
This one I got on Polarmanus or Releasefly Connector, and again I have a fight.
So when you're going to mount the fly, you simply stick the tippet through the eye of the fly and mount the hook. The hook can be mounted with any knot you want. This is just a simple blood knot. It could also be a grinner or a propeller. It doesn't matter, because the hook will be semi-fixed in the Releasefly connector. So yeah, you can just use your favorite knot. It's very easy. So when you're going to mount the fly in Releasefly connector, you're going to hold it like this, so that one branch is pointing away from the fly and 2 branches here are pointing up against the fly. And the branch that is going to be away from the fly is the one where the hook gape is parallel to the eye. This is not the case with the other 2. Let me show you how to do it. So just before you push the hook into the Releasefly connector, it makes it a little bit easier just to turn the knot so it sits on the side of the hook that will be pointing away from the fly. Then it's a little bit more easy to push it into the Releasefly connector. Here you see a close-up of a new connector put on, and as you can see here, the small gap in the claw is very small. It's only 0.2 millimeters. So before you mount the hook, it's important just to check that there's not a small plastic film melted between these in the production, and it's very easy to check that. So you just gently stick your nail down between the 2 claws to make sure that the 2 claws are separated before you push the hook in. The first time you push the small treble into the connector, it's very important that you take a very firm grip of the modified single and a very firm grip of the small treble, and then in a controlled way put it into the tight little opening. You quickly learn how to do it, and you need to do it in a controlled way, of course, so you don't push the small treble into your fingers. You quickly learn it. And when you have been positioning the hook the first time, it's very easy. You take it in and out 2 or 3 times before you start fishing. Then the plastic claw will have the right elasticity to work perfectly during fishing. So now you take a firm grip on the fly, and you slide the eye like this in through the 2 claws in the holder and push the hook in, so it sits exactly like this, with 1 branch pointing out and two branches pointing up against the fly. So now we're ready to fish, and as you can see here, the hook is turning correctly. 1 branch is pointing away from the fly and 2 branches are pointing up against the fly. The reason why this is very important is that when it turns like this, you have 100% hook grip, as you can see here. But if these 2 branches were turning the other way, you would only have a 40% hook grip compared to these 100%. And optimizing the chance of hooking on just 1 branch is also better, because it gives a better penetration. 1 branch penetrates much more easily than 2 branches, and also hooked on 1 branch is also better for the fish, because it takes shorter time to take the hook out, and it gives smaller hook wounds and less bleeding. So it's important to mount the hook exactly like shown here. The beauty of the way the hook is sitting right now is that the 2 branches here are gripping behind the backside of the connector. This means that no matter how hard your casting acceleration is, you cannot pull the hook out by accident. But in the same second you get a fish, and there's a risk of leverage effect on the hook. When the pressure crank comes in 90 degrees direction of the length axis of the fly, the hook can easily break out like this and slide up the line. So you will have no leverage on a small hook that could be to danger of the hook hold. After you've had a fish and you're going to put the hook back into position, the easiest thing is just to put the eye down into the claw like this and push the hook in. Extremely easy to do, very, very fast and easy. And then the hook sits perfect on the fly, ready to fish. At some point after fishing perhaps several full days and you caught quite a lot of fish, the claw will get worn down just like a hook will get worn down, and you'll need to shift it. And this is very simple. You just take a biting plier like this and you bite over the claw down the central axis like this, and you will be able to take the claw off and put a new on. Very, very simple. Here you see how to use the Releasefly connector for the flies for pike. You have a larger Releasefly connector sitting here mounted exactly as I shown you before. You have a size 6 treble. You mount it with a split ring and a solid ring in a piece of wire. And at the end of the piece of wire just have a small solid ring. And here you see you have a snap lock. This is just to make it easier to take flies on and off. You don't need to fix it here. It's not a problem because it's actually fixed here. So you can simply mount your trace here with either with a snap lock so it's loosely hinged so you get a nice wriggling movement of the fly, or you can just tie a repeller loop on your fluorocarbon trace and put it in here. So this is how to fish the Releasefly connector system on a pike fly. Very, very easy.